So here's our picture again. Here is how it dried. And we're gonna look at this. Oh, paper's coming off. Oh, sorry, tape. Tape's coming off the floor. We've got our brushes. And we're gonna keep working with the flat brushes, right? We've got a couple here. I've got a 1-inch flat, 3/4 inch flat, and a 1/4 inch flat. Excuse me, this is a 1/2 inch flat. Alrighty, let's see. I had talked about wanting to pull this rock formation out from the background, so we're going to give that a try right now. Let's see how we can do that. I'm going to go back and get some more of that shadow violet that I like so much. So again, this is maybe alizarin crimson with a little Payne's gray would do just as well. Right, and I've got kind of my short brush here, 1/4 inch. And you can see I'm putting down a very wet line of paint so that I can go back and adjust it, right, if I want to. So what I'm doing is we're putting in some of the shadows here. And if you look, you'll see when I send you this picture that just about everything is in this picture is horizontal. Goes right across. So we're going to try and get some shadows in here. And what do you think? Can she do this without fussing too much? Wouldn't that be nice? Right? What I want to do is show some vertical shadows. Pull this down a little bit. I'm sort of pushing my brush around to kind of create some, a little bit of texture on the dry paper here. So there's some rocks that look like they've kind of slid off the side of the hill here. And that's what we're trying to show. I'm going to come back in here. I'll add some more lines when it dries a little bit more. Right? It's a little too wet for that right now. This is a, we're going to approach this by, once again, trying to paint the negative around some of these shapes. So that you can see what comes up here. Actually take that off right there. We need one ridge line, not two. One ridge line. Okay, I'm also going to come back here. I'm trying to wait because they're at the very end of this picture. At the very one of the very last things that we will do is put the foliage on. Right, there's some tiny little spots of green all over. We're not going to go quite that crazy, but we will put them on there, and we've got to wait to the end because that's the detail, right? All the detail goes at the end. You work from loose to more detail. That's how I work, right? So I won't put anything on that needs to be, nicely defined until the very, very end, right? But it shouldn't be too much longer. I think we're almost there. Put this on, and we're gonna blot that a little bit. So, a lot of the time I spend putting a little bit of paint on and then taking it off. Right? I put some on, and take a little bit off, and that sort of, I don't know why I do that. It lightens things. It gives it a little bit more of a loose look, I think. Got some nice pale pinks. That's not a pale pink. Let's get another pink here. I just wet that. So it's okay. It's okay. I've got another pale pink over here. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. So if we want a pink, we're going to go really thin, right? If you've you've got your colors that are very vibrant, you want to add a lot of water to them. Just soften them up a little bit. Juba? Well, okay. So, you know, what I'm seeing here are colors that are kind of toned down, a little bit of gray. Sun is not particularly stark against these rocks, so the color would be slightly lighter. But, you know, we kind of like that pink, so we're going to put some in anyway, aren't we? Just because. Okay. I also want to come through and get that, the dark hills in the front. Let's see what we can do here. So let's go back to the small brush. So we had that incredible red ochre, which is a very kind of intense burnt sienna type color. What I'm trying to do here is pull out some of this in the front. All right, let's do this first, and then we may pull it out. Right, I've already got this dark in here. I think I'm going to try and lighten this section up in a minute. All right, I've got some mountains coming here, right? We're far away. Everything's dry before we start this next section. And we still have, you know, only half an hour before everybody comes back. Right? So we gotta work quick. Okay. All right. Let's go get the wider brush. Here's the 1/2 inch. Let's see what that will do. Okay, we want something up here. There. Cut a little bit more. This striation kind of comes right across. This dark orange is in the foreground, sort of. So got a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna take that out. I'm actually gonna move this. The highlight. I want the highlight a little bit further down. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna scrub a little down here soon. Get this a little redder. When things are slightly wet, the bloom that you get created kind of like makes the striations in the rocks. Let's see if we can do one here. So we can form a rock outcropping there. It's a little wet, right? So we might have to come back in a little while. A little darker. So we can add some of the striations over here. Now, see, this is kind of starting to pull out because all I'm doing is painting something darker behind it. Right, so that's how, you know, even if you've got a dark, you know, it's a little too dark in the front, by painting the back slightly darker, right, things will pop out in the front. Okay. Neato. All right, I'm going to take the same color and thin it out a little bit. Let's get it back up here. These mountains. You know, I still like to paint with more color than I see. So even though this is a very subtle picture, I'm trying to put a little bit extra color in here. I do like that yellow, that pale ochre. So we might come back in. We've also got this Naples yellow. Let's give that a try. So here's my Naples yellow. Yeah, that works pretty darn well. Right. So Naples is a slightly opaque yellow. You could use yellow ochre. You could use gamboge. Right, just tone them down or make them, you know, thin them out a little bit. But if we want some drama, we're going to need a Ooh, that's looking nice. Okay, I'm gonna grab some yellow and I'm gonna put it over here. Now I'm working with the flat, right? And the flat is pretty good for rock formations. So, you know, turn it in different directions and get the lines that you put down to kind of work in a similar way to, say, flat, flat bits of rock, flat strata. That's too much. Let's take that off a little bit. Come up here, put it up here a little. And you can see my brush, I'm barely holding it. It's just, I'm just sort of dancing over the paper here. There's a little yellow up here I want to get. Yellows are more in the top strata. I'm not sure which it is. I think it's strata. Yeah, those geologists will tell me though. Okay. So all we want is enough color, right, to get this to look like something. Not bad. I should, yeah, let's let this dry. You can see my paper is buckling again, right? So we're gonna have to let this dry a bit. Okay, so we gotta stop, right? This is important. We know when you keep working with something, it gets overworked, it's called, and the paper can get very tired, right? You can start, if you're going back and forth a lot, sometimes the paper will pill up a little bit, and that's the key to let you just remember that you've got to go to the hair dryer and dry this off, okay? So we will do that. Great. Well, we're back, and as you can see, I have finished my picture because I was not recording when I explained everything that I did here. So we're going to try and catch you up a little bit. So the last time you saw me painting on this picture, hopefully, I was talking about, you know, lightening some of the front areas to have the mountains in the back kind of show up. I did that. I added some background color here to try and get some shadows a little more prominent. You know, this is still far away, so I'm working on the idea that I'm not going to put in a lot of detail. I'm just going to add tiny little elements. We're going to keep it kind of, you know, majestic and in the distance here. I did spend a lot of time on the recording that you didn't see. Talking about making some of this foliage that's in the front here. And I used this 1/4 inch flat to do that because I didn't want some pointy, you know, Vermont pine trees on this picture, because we are definitely not in Vermont while we're painting this thing. So I also took my sap green and added a little burnt sienna to it, or some red, some browns, kind of browned it up a little bit, and that helped to get a sort of an olivey green color to put on the trees here. I'm also, let me show you a couple of spots here. I've just sort of indicated the shapes, nothing too exciting, and I'm turning my brush and just and using the very little edge of it to create some kind of indistinct greenery, indistinct green shapes over here. Right? 'Cause, I can go back through and darken any of them that came out a little too late. You know, they dry lighter always, so you know, and as you go further up the hill, you want to start making things a little smaller if you can as you go further up. And the nice thing is that this foliage can also define some of the ridges that are up at the top. You know, they kind of go across here. You can see things are growing in certain
certain lines across the landscape. So that's sort of how I finish things off, all right? But I apologize for the technical difficulties in not showing you. Anyway, this was a really fun project, and I think if people want to send more pictures in of you know, how would you paint, how would you go about trying to figure out how to paint this? Maybe we can have a few more of these where we're going, you know, different subject matter than I've given you in the past, okay? So, give it a shot. It's nice. It's nice to see some interesting, different color than what